Hello, everyone. It is my pleasure to be part of the 11th edition of the International Finance Summit. And it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Saenz and Mr. Dejean. They will be intervening on the theme digital transformation in the post COVID era. Um, I will introduce each of them very briefly before handing them the mic. Mr. Marvin Dejean is the managing partner. Mr. Marvin Dejean is a leading business futurist, digital market strategist, best-selling author, and the CEO of Gilead Standards. Dejean has more than 20 years of experience working as a consultant for some of the biggest and most recognizable names in the field of business, government, and philanthropy, such as Western Union, Florida Blue, Disney, and Cisco System. Dejean delivers high-level motivational how-to techniques to leaders, staff, and organization on tackling some of the most pressing challenges in a rapidly changing marketplace. Rigoberto Saenz, he is the founder of the Center for Innovation in Mexico and Madrid BBVA. He has 25 years of experience, throughout which he has participated in projects to promote digital transformation, innovation, and the use of new technologies for business development in the digital world, process automation, improvement in the customer experience, and the development of disruptive models. Upon his arrival at EY, he coordinated the final design and construction of the Innovation Center for Mexico and North Latam called Wave Space. He developed and launched the operation of the center with the use of methodologies with an agile philosophy as well as human-centered design, selection of the work team, technology, budget, and all the operation rules of the site. During 2.5 years of operation, he has served more than 300 clients from all types of industries, service company, retail, telecommunication, technology, real estate, and startup in more than 650 events. More than 12,000 people have lived the immersive experience of the innovation disruption process. They have won more than 40 business transformation projects and contributed to sales of more than $50 million. Together with his team, he managed to position the Wave Space CDMX and Latam Norte as the second innovation center in level of importance measured with with KPIs of activities and projects carried out, considering the 42 centers that EY has worldwide. So, if there were any doubts about the necessity of digital transformation to business longevity, the coronavirus has silenced them. In a contactless world, the vast majority of interaction with customers and employee were taking place virtually. So, with rare exception, the operation had to go digitally. It was the only way that business could follow, could follow through. So it was go digital or go dark. So this digital mandate wasn't new, but because of coronavirus, it was a sharp focus. So prior to the pandemic, a paradigm shift toward digitalization of the economy that was already underway. So the current events only accelerated the paradigm as evidenced by the market shift in spending towards digital business. So right now, I am going to invite first Mr. Science, Rigo.
Yeah.
And my first question will be, what do you define as digital transformation?
Well, I'm going to try to answer that question, but first of all, I want to give the audience the idea of the digital transformation is just a part of the change that it's more profound. What we try to understand as a transformation, it's in the arena of the business transformation and the entire life cycle of transformation. I mean, digitally, transformative digitally means that you can take advantage of all the technology in place today in order to make it easier for the basic people to develop their to satisfy and develop their necessities in a really easy manner. That's what I really don't like very much to talk about digital transformation, because digital transformation always you last understanding that maybe you are referring to technology, and that is not the point of view that I want to prevail in this conversation. What I try to say is that disruption and transformation of the business and all the arenas of the entire world has to do with improved experience of the customers and of the people in order to get a better life. One part of the change is the digital arena, the digital technology, but not all the changes refers to the digital. That's what I think. I don't know, Marvin, if you can add or change the point of view.
Yeah, no, thank you, Rigoberto. So, Nayed, when I'm sure when Rigoberto and I talk to uh, clients or to businesses, we usually get approached with, especially after COVID, or maybe even during COVID, organizations come to us and they say, "Hey, I know we need to transform. Can you come in and show us, what we need to do?" And in their minds, 9 times out of 10, you get CEOs defining digital transformation as adding technology, to either decrease cost, right, to improve processes, automate processes, or to really enhance the customer experience, meaning meeting the customer where they are, being mobile, being online, or being 24/7, 365. But, like Rigoberto and I were talking earlier before we started this, and we were saying, look, the beginning and the end of digital transformation begins and ends with the customer experience. So if you don't start with the customer in mind, right, and then work your way around that, then you really miss the mark. So really truly understanding the digital transformation is really going beyond just the idea of adding technology to your business. It's really talking about a complete mindset shift on how you actually run an organization in the 21st century. So what I tell CEOs is really you're talking about an operating model for the 21st century, which is completely different from the 19th century and the 20th century, which were the business model at that time were completely different for a different time, right? Now you're in the 21st century where essentially things are happening faster. Technologies are enabling people to have information access and everything faster. You have a much more agile workforce. You have a global workforce. You have a global competition, right? And then you have an ecosystem model as opposed to, a model that is very niche. So it's a completely different playing field. So looking at digital transformation as, the difference between riding a bicycle and driving a Lamborghini, two different worlds, right? So you got to think about it in those terms. Like, what do I need to do to drive a Lamborghini as opposed to riding a bicycle? That's digital transformation.
Great. That being said, why do you think digital transformation is now, especially thinking about post-COVID experience? Why it's now?
Yeah, I'll let Rigoberto go first, and then I can answer that.
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't think the digital transformation is now. When I talk about with my people that I advise, some CEOs, some chief operations officers, uh, I told them that digital transformation was 10 years from now, 10 years ago, and maybe more, maybe more. What happened is that mainly in some conservative sectors, they couldn't understand on time that the change was already in place. What happened in the COVID and the post-COVID, what's going to happen is many people who is asking or understanding that they need to transform their business, they are really late. Most of them, I can sadly say, they are dead already. I mean, it's just a matter of time because they didn't prevail, they didn't prepare themselves in order to take the wave of the change that it was taking place in the past few years. So now what is happening is that we are going to experiment the boost of the transformation, but yeah, not just digital transformation, but disruptive transformation. What you see today is that, for example, the machine learning and artificial intelligence, then it's a term that I really don't like much, the artificial intelligence, because there is no intelligence there yet. But what is true is that this kind of technology is boosting the capabilities of the enterprises, and the business process go further that we can never imagine before. So I can put an example on this. For example, the lawyers, I mean, the legal system is going to change a lot in the next years, because today you can put robots in order to review all the legal papers that you need in any process, in any business process. That was an activity that before it was held by a human beings. To the revision as revision only, you don't need human beings anymore, because you put rules. The rules are really clear. There are laws. There are, there are writing about what you have to achieve and to do. And a robot perfectly can review a contract and just put in place those parts of the contract that is important in order to a human being to review in order to go further. So what I mean is it's a totally different arena in the legal place today. It's an example of that. So that's my point of view, Marvin.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rigoberto is absolutely correct. So 10 years ago, when I was talking about digital transformation, a lot of CEOs and a lot of companies really truly didn't understand, nor did they didn't care necessarily, because their business model was working, right? As long as you're making money and everything is fine, there's no need for you to actually change. So what COVID-19 did is what we call in the business language or the business jargon, the proverbial burning platform. So the only way, and it refers to the only way that people jump to safety is when the platform is burning, right? And for human beings, that's usually how we're built. Unless there's something really urgent that, like the stock market crash of 1929 or 9/11 or things like that, we tend to be the kind of species that really are very comfortable in going the way things are, even when there's actual danger, right, that we can predict, that we can see, but we are very much like a river. And once we're in that rhythm and routine, it's very difficult to shift unless there is something that disrupts the flow. And COVID-19 was the ultimate disruptor. And like Rigoberto said, digital transformation has been taking place for decades now, right? But it was just showing up very slowly in single cases that people could actually identify. For example, a good example of this was the competition between, say, Blockbuster and Netflix, right? Netflix was smart enough to ride that wave of streaming and being able to come up with a completely different business model that really captured the imagination of the market around being able to have entertainment anytime, anywhere, and on any platform, right? And Blockbuster was still stuck in the old platform and the old business model of people getting in their car, driving, looking for, and Blockbuster's biggest uh, form of revenue wasn't even renting movies, but it was your late fees, right? So it was a negative element as opposed to Netflix flipping it on its head, using streaming and being able to showcase that, hey, you can have it anytime, anywhere, and I don't penalize you. Much better customer experience. So if you notice, the element is that whether or not we're using technology, we're putting the customer at the center of everything, and we're using technology to really accelerate processes. This is happening now, right, on a massive scale. It's like the window is closing. And I tell my clients all this time, every year that you fail to get into digital transformation, you're about 3 years or 5 years behind because things are accelerating faster, faster, and the customer experience is definitely changing, shifting. So the point is the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed, right? So the question now is for companies is to really realize that that window is closing extremely fast. Digital transformation is not now, it's yesterday. So if you don't get through that window right now, in the next 5 years, between artificial intelligence, blockchain, cryptocurrency, networks, 5G, and IoT, you have the convergence of these technologies. It's game over. It's a complete game changer. It's a complete game changer.
Well, from what I understood, um, the lack probably of access to technology in some of the emerging market or in Haiti, for instance, or the fact that probably they do not have a lot of investment in research and development and technology should not be like an obstacle, right, to the digital transformation. So can you give me a better idea on how does the digital transformation transpose in emerging markets and in market like Haiti?
Yeah. Um, I can start with that if you don't mind. So what makes digital transformation completely different from any of the last industrial revolutions that we saw, right? So when we saw the industrial revolution happen back in the early 19th century, what we saw was a very slow wave that took decades to go around the world, right? It started in developing countries, kind of made its way into developed countries over time, but it took decades. That's not what's happening here. This fourth industrial revolution is happening so fast and it's happening beyond the capacity of governments and even corporations to control it. So you're seeing the distribution of power and accessibility moving away, not just in governments, being able to provide access or corporations to provide, but individuals, right? So you see individuals jumping into the fray and innovating at a rapid pace and really creating solutions where governments and corporations either didn't have the incentive to do it before or didn't see, wanted to keep that control. So now individuals are moving into that space and innovating, and that innovation is going around the world much faster. So we're not talking about, innovation and digital transformation happening through the normal channels that we've seen. So individuals are now involved in that. And you're starting to see that kind of transformation is now going into sectors that before was not even accessible to people. So for example, a good example that we're starting to see happening also in Haiti, but about maybe a good decade now, close to a decade now, is for example, the M-Pesa, which is happening in Africa and Kenya. You're having people in the rural arenas using their mobile phones to receive money, to receive payment, to pay for goods and services, to pay for utility bills, to share money between family members or friends. That is radicalizing even access from the poor into financial transactions without banks. So even banks as a middleman are starting to get disrupted by that. So you're going to see a model where those different kind of things are happening in the marketplace, but it's going global, right? So I'll be able to as an emerging market like Haiti or Mexico, I'll be able to do transactions halfway across the world in a matter of seconds without having to go through a middleman when you start adding things like blockchain and IoT. So, you know, emerging markets have the opportunity like never before to really raise the level of opportunities for a massive amount of people, whether or not governments, corporations, and individuals really come together to really make that, activate that, is where it's going to make the difference between countries and between geographies of how fast they get to accelerate digital transformation.
I don't know if you have any thought about this question, Rigo.
Yeah, well, I just want to complete trying to complete what Marvin just said, talking about the role of the governments. I think in Latin America, specifically, that is the case that I most know, or that I know most. What happened is that governments in Latin America, they are, there's a saying in Spanish that there is a necessary bath. I mean, they don't contribute to the development of the digital transformation, of the disruption of the business transformation. So we can work on this as a society besides the government. Because things are going really so fast today that the political model in every country, even developed countries or emerging markets, are really out of date. What I mean is the process of making laws to regulate the markets simply, I mean, even the political people doesn't know how to do that, because they don't know about the themes, about the what's happening in the marketplace. So what Marvin said, that many people, individual people, erupting in the market with new ideas, with new, not technology, because I think the innovation is the capability that the human being can develop around the technology that any other people has built. What I mean is, innovation is not about building technology. It's about using what you have in your hands in order to enhance your capabilities in the every single day life. So, and that's what's happening today. Marvin said, in emerging markets, we have a really high advantage because of our necessities in the past. We have a lot of people that is really smart and innovative. But I mean, when you one example, I remember when I was a boy, my father has a fabric of metal things, and one of the machines collapsed. And then when we asked to the supplier to repair the machine, it took more like 3 months or 4 months, coming people from Germany in order to get the machine running again. So my father found one guy in Mexico that, I don't know what he did, but the machine was running again in 3 days. What I mean, that's what happened in emerging markets. But when you, besides that, you have a lot of technology that can support your innovative creativity. I mean, the sky is not the limit. The sky is just the beginning.
Okay, I understand that because it's going so fast that business owners, entrepreneurs, and the society is way ahead of the government. But do you think that if it's possible, what type of accompaniment that the government should put in place in order to foster the digital transformation in their countries, in their economies?
Yeah, I think you know, it's a political and leadership will, right? Simply because, like Rigoberto said, even the political systems that we have right now are becoming outdated, right? But when you talk about power dynamics, right, what the role of government has traditionally been, the usual approach to things that are disrupting society, environment, politics, money, finances. It's always been to put, you know, a wall, a moat around trying to keep the status quo. But right now, the wave and the tsunami of digital transformation is so bigger than any kind of moat that any government can put around trying to keep the status quo, that it's just going to crash. So it's sort of like being very rigid in the water, and then you've got waves coming. The more rigid you are, the sooner you're going to break, as opposed to becoming more flexible and saying, okay, you know what, this is coming. How do we become more flexible? And already that we're seeing some governments who are very, very low. And when I say low, in terms of the spectrum, in terms of where they were, in terms of being able to provide services to their constituents, being able to, really rapidly respond to whether it's an economic crisis or even a political crisis or any kind of crisis. We've seen governments who have used the digital transformation opportunity to leapfrog into what we call 21st century government. A good example of that is Estonia. Estonia and Central Europe has gone completely digital, and their citizens are e-citizens. So think about everything that the government does, whether your driver's license, your passport, your visa, you want to apply for certain government jobs. Imagine every single possibility is now completely digital in Estonia, completely digital from A to Z. They've really made the commitment, and now their citizens are e-citizens. And on top of that, and from a even an economic development perspective, anybody around the world right now can actually open a business in Estonia purely from wherever they are. As long as you meet the requirements, and you can actually open a business purely online through Estonia. So this is a government that's really embracing digital transformation, the technology, the innovative ideas of its people, and giving them a platform, an ecosystem to really just say, like Rigoberto says, the sky is not the limit, it's the beginning. So you can just see a country like Estonia 20 years from now really leapfrogging so many countries right now that we consider developed. That can be a model that we other countries even now follow. So the point is, governments have an opportunity to bring together themselves by accepting that digital transformation is here, it's now. How do we take advantage of it? They bring the universities, the schools, the educational component, part of that, because you have to upskill and reskill your workforce for a 21st century workforce. And then finally, the third element is the business. The business sector has to, so you have the trifecta of government, education, and business coming together in a way like they've never done before to really then support this whole transformation of society towards digital transformation.
Thank you. Rigo, will you tell us, according to you, what will be like the key advantages of digital transformation?
Well, there is a lot of advantages. I don't even perceive some of these advantages as dangerous. Well, there is one that is the dehumanization of the daily practice of the being human being, just only. But the advantages that business and the entire society can take about this era is basically to spend less and get more. Less effort and more goals, more achievements. This is one of the advantages. The second one is to democratize the delivery of well-being to the human being. Okay. The problem here is that the status quo is so powerful that many people is fighting against the tsunami. As Marvin said, these people, even the richest people in the world, more rigid they are, more crashable they are in the near future. But the advantage, I think, is maybe one century ago, it was just a dream to see the humanity to have the services, the level of life that we all deserve. Today, if we are capable to understand what's happening, and how can we take advantage of the technology in order to bring to all the people the well-being. Maybe we have a light in the tunnel.
Thank you. Do you want to add something, Mr. Dejean?
Yeah, well, I think Rigoberto said it, right? So to me, um, you can look at digital transformation happening globally to us as a species as either an opportunity or a risk, right? Depending on where you stand on the side of the fence. But to me, I tend to view it as an opportunity, right? So if you view it as an opportunity, it's to say, okay, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, with Maslow's needs being at the top, being what we call human actualization, really meaning we're moving away from this whole sense of survival to really, what does it mean to be human, right? Because you're not caught in, I have to work to feed my family, or I have to work to, put a roof over my head. If you took away that whole, portion for humanity, what would we be as a species? What would we go after? What would we pursue, right? Imagine someone like, who maybe is a great pianist or a great concert pianist, or plays any kind of instrument, but doesn't have the time to pursue that because he or she's busy trying to survive, right? If you took away that demand, that request, and now that person gets to pursue that, how many of us have latent talents that we aren't able to pursue? Now, when you start adding things like automation and AI, right, which eventually will become intelligent over time, and can take over these rote jobs that we're stuck doing day in and day out, right? And you allow that to flourish, where a robot can build a home. It doesn't need to be a big one, but a modest home for everybody, because it takes it less time and it costs a lot less, right? A robot can read a contract and tell you exactly what's in the contract and the things that you need to do. And so you don't have to do that kind of work anymore. What does it allow humanity as a species to unleash on this planet, collectively, collaboratively, innovatively, and just dreaming of things that we can't even possibly imagine? That's the future if we're smart enough to take it.
That's
Yeah,
great.
even I can add something that I wanted to tell before. Even the pandemic and the problems, the crisis that we have in hands, it just has changed the meaning of the meaning of value. What I'm telling is that in the past decades, we were working on a business model that considered people in New York City, in the New York Stock Exchanges, in the Chicago Board of Trade, in Frankfurt, like the people that add most value to the business process. This pandemic just put us back and refreshes our mind that the most valuable things and the most valuable activities of the human being come from those that attend you in the store, in the grocery, in the restaurants, that feed you, that transport you, that attend you in hospitals, all the medical system, that they are really forbidden, forgotten. They were forgotten, and we think those activities they didn't add value to the process, when actually are the activities that more value added to the human society. So the perception of the value, I think, and I hope that it maintains that way, understanding that the most valuable things are made by the human being at very end. Okay, so hopefully we understand that for first time in the maybe into millenniums.
That was very interesting, thinking about the future and the potentiality. But right now, I would like you to give me probably a more specific experience that you were doing in terms of transforming digitally, like organization or businesses, um, either Rigo at the Center for Innovation, or Mr. Dejean, with your clients? Do you have any success story of any businesses that has transformed due to COVID?
Well, yes, I can give some examples here in Mexico. One of the examples is it wasn't attended by me, or another was that wasn't attended by the team of EY. It is the case of Rappi. Rappi has a pretty smart model of delivering things, but what happened during the COVID crisis is that they changed their model in order uh, to bolster their basic model of delivering, and keep it, taking all the market in many different ways and many different sectors. Because at least in Mexico, they started to deliver things from the grocery stores. Rappi was really good at those things. What I mean is, you make your order for example, Walmart, and Rappi can deliver that requisition from Walmart to your home. But what happened with Rappi is that they install basically many people in many places, restaurants, grocery stores, who actually do your request of, for example, food. People go to the market. There are few people. Instead of having 1,000 people in the Walmart place, you have maybe 4 or 5 rapid people just watching and filming for example, the groceries, and you to decide in the video web, I want to that tomato, that fish, that, and make it happen so fastly without putting in risk yourself. Okay, I mean, it's amazing the velocity of the growth of the Rappi in Mexico and Latin America, exceeding the way Uber Eats it was going to has performing their business here in Mexico. Rappi, I mean, they reach Uber and faster them really in a really short period of time. That's one of the examples in Mexico that COVID crisis allows Rappi to grow really faster than they were expecting.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's exactly it, right? So again, you know, I've worked with a lot of different clients. One of the clients that I work with, it wasn't necessarily my particular project, but I kind of helped that client and saw what COVID-19 did. And that client was Kroger, which is a large supermarket chain here in the Midwest. And one of the things, once COVID-19 hit, everything had to shut down, including the supermarkets, right? Which became essential eventually, but really they were sort of feeling their way around and kind of trying to figure out what to do and allowing people into the supermarkets to be able to shop. But one thing that emerged out of COVID-19 is that they started experimenting faster. So one of the things that they did is they noticed that, of course, people were on lockdown. They started purchasing their groceries online or on mobile, right? So they could go on the Kroger site, they could choose their you know, whatever their groceries, and then, you know, they could either come and pick it up or, you know, have it delivered to their home. So, you know, Kroger really kind of noticed that trend and really started experimenting. So for example, one of the things that they did is, as they noticed that more and more people shopping online, they chose that some of their stores went completely black. And what does that mean? Meaning nobody, it wasn't a store that you actually went in and shopped. It was a store that became a fulfillment center. So as people more and more shop, they use robots to really go on the back end to really just, as people were shopping, literally just picking up, you know, condiments that people were asking for in real time. And, you know, you had the opportunity then, it gave you a window of time as a shopper to come in, you drove, you pushed a button on the app, and someone was rolling out your groceries. So you didn't even spend less than 2 minutes because you had already paid online. So it really just drove their level of efficiency and customer experience to the nth level, right? So COVID really, I mean, this was something they were already experimenting with, but very slowly. They weren't sure how the market was going to react to it. COVID just like supercharged it 10x, right? So
10x.
again, the opportunity to really experiment, right? So I think it's very important for me to say this right now, whether it's government, whether it's businesses, whether it's individuals. The old model of thinking is that once I start a business model, I'm going to do something, I pour everything into it and hope, Hail Mary, that the market actually responds to it. This is not what digital transformation is asking you to do. Really, now you can prototype from business models to products to service at a very low cost, very low level environment. Test it out first to see, work out the bugs. Does it work? Does it not work? We call this the um, exploit and model. Really kind of really explore and exploit model to really kind of see, does this thing actually work? And if it does, right, and you see the market reacting to it, now you can scale, right? So that's where digital transformation really changes the rules of the game and gives almost anybody an opportunity to really just go out there, experiment, try things, iterate the process, go back out there and get the feedback in real time, and allows you to either expand or pivot rather quickly, right? So it's a great opportunity.
That's good. Um, from what I'm listening, I feel like it's something very interesting and that any sector could benefit from it. But do you see any challenges that a business, that government, that an individual would have to face in order to enter this new revolution?
Yeah.
Rigo
Um,
or Mr. Jean?
yeah,
Well,
yeah. So go ahead,
Marvin,
go ahead.
no, Marvin, please go first this time.
Well, listen, so the statistics bear it out now, right? Right now, probably 7 out of 10, probably this was maybe a year or two ago. Maybe it's gonna start accelerating, and I suspect the numbers are gonna start going down. But right now, 7 out of 10 companies who are doing digital transformation are failing at it. And it's simple, right? Because what people are doing is they're trying to take digital transformation as, again, is it technology? Is it, just parts and pieces of it, the customer experience, and trying to overlay it on their existing business model. And again, it's kind of like saying, I'm going to try to put the engine of a Kia on a Lamborghini. It, it doesn't work. This is a completely different operating model. So you got to really think about your business as something, a different animal, right? So I'll give you a classic example or a good analogy that I use with my clients. The 19th and 20th century business model really saw businesses as a machine, right? So it's a machine that pieces came together and really worked mechanically. Input in, output out. And people, even employees, were seen as cogs in the machine. That works when you're in an environment that is very stable, very repeatable, and you could predict it out 10 years out. This is what's going to happen every summer, every winter, right? That worked. The machine analogy worked. We're not in that kind of environment. We're in what we call the VUCA environment, right? It's volatile, it's uncertain, right? It's complex, right? And
Ambiguous.
it's ambiguous, right? So this kind of environment is not predictable enough for that kind of model. So the kind of model that you have is now to start looking at your business as a living organism, meaning like your human body, right? Even though we know the brain is the one controlling everything, but the brain doesn't tell the rest of the body what to do. It's very autonomous. There are things that are happening in your body that the brain has, it may be aware of it after the fact, right? So for example, if you cut your hand, immediately the blood starts coagulating before the brain even perceives the pain. This is how we need to see our organizations, where we have autonomous teams that understand the mission of the organization. They know the commander's intent, where we're going, but allow them to work autonomously to really focus on customer experience, focus on efficiency, focus on process and solutions to problems. That's it. So trying to overlay this new model on your existing business model is a sure recipe for success. This is why people are failing at digital transformation. So you need to step back and say, how do we revamp even our thinking about how to run a business and what the vision is to get there, and then start, with small pieces, prototyping inside the business, small teams, small projects, allowing that to iterate the process and grow it organically, scaling it up into your business over time to allow your culture to absorb it, as opposed to trying to push everything and say, hey, we're transforming overnight. Surefire disaster.
Yeah.
Rigo.
I want to complete with a sentence, a saying in Mexico that we have. About you are talking about the overlaying technology on the top of the actual business model. What we say here is that improving the candles will not produce a lamp. Okay, it's a really nice saying, because that's what's happening to I think you really are quite well. Maybe 6 out of 10 entrepreneurs and CEOs that they think that transforming digitally the business, but not transforming the way they do the business, is a really sure recipe for failure. Even if you are enough smart to understand that you have to change all the end-to-end experience, customer experience model, it is not a recipe for success. Well, with trying to put the old model into the new one, it's a really sure recipe for failure. Okay, right. So keep in mind, improving the candles will not produce a lamp. Right. I mean, it's really. I want to finish that with that statement in this part of the.
That's awesome.
Contribution of Marvin.
That's awesome.
Okay, I think I'm gonna ask you probably the last question. This is very new. This is going very fast. But what do you think people will be nostalgic of when we're fully transposed to this new world of digital transformation?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad, you know what? I'm so glad you asked that question. That is a very important question, right? Because just like in everything else on this planet, it's a double-edged sword, right? You get great things, but you got to look at the other side. It comes with a price, right? The first victim, and it's already begun, the first victim for us as a society, as individuals, for digital, when you talk about a global or societal complete overhaul towards digital transformation, the first victim is privacy. We are going to lose, we are already losing this level of sense of, I can keep certain things to myself. I don't need the world to know that I went to the store and bought, whatever, I can keep that. Our kids and our children's are going to be living in a world where that doesn't exist anymore, right? There may be now levels of security, right? Where maybe, you can put walls or certain walls around certain things that you can do. But again, these are things that you're going to have to purchase, right? As opposed to it come naturally to you. So your sense of privacy is the first victim of digital transformation. And people with a lot more wealthier will be able to buy perhaps a certain level of privacy that the rest of us would not be able to have. So it's going to be a commodity that you can purchase that. But even they won't be able to buy complete privacy for either the government or certain areas of sectors that will have complete view of our lives from cradle, from cradle to death, right? Everything is going to be encoded and transcribed, every transaction, everything. And then the second thing also is when we talk about digital transformation, we're automatically also talking about a true level of connectedness through the internet, connectedness through IoT, connectedness through cameras, connectedness to your work, connectedness to, so you're 20, in order for you to, it's almost as if like, I always ask people when I give speeches, I said, how many of you have left your house and left your cell phone and realized you left your cell phone and made a U-turn and went back home because you cannot imagine spending the day without that cell, because everything is in that cell phone, right? People contacting you. So imagine now taking that level of connectedness times 10x. So, where your clothes, your car, your home, your phone, everything is connected to everything else. So meaning you are in that grid 24/7. So the idea of doing business or even operating or living in society without being connected is going to become something that's just impossible to do. You're not going to be able to purchase, you're not going to be able to live, you're not going to be able to work without being connected on the grid, right? So that sense of always being on 24/7 is something that people are just going to get used to. But if you're a person who just, sometimes you want to disconnect, that may become harder and harder as we go along. So those are two things off the top of my head. There's gonna be more, right? But the next generation, when they're born into that, they're just gonna see it as normal. Versus us, we're gonna be nostalgic about the good old days when I used to be able to go buy a bottle of juice and nobody knew about it, right? So we're gonna lose a certain sense of privacy and individuality.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think that we are more and more close to the Matrix movie than ever before.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
I just want to addition a comment about Marvin was is saying. For me, for many years, I think the privacy is just an illusion. What happened today, and has been an illusion for many years. Today, I think privacy is an illusion which COVID crisis has only made evident. Why? Because when you understand, I know some people who work for governments in the States and in Mexico in the agencies of intelligence, and as a fact, we are monitored for many years. We have been monitored for many years. Today, technology allows to people who monitors us to go faster to find something specific about us. In the past, if someone wants to know something really specific about the people, it maybe took months or years to find out what happened. Technology just accelerate the velocity in what the things that you are looking for, you find it, okay? So, but for example, the cellular phones, we all of, at least in this continent, I'm not going to mention countries because it's dangerous. We are all monitored. All the social networks actually we are listening to what we were saying right now. I'm sure that after we close this recording, this panel, for sure, I'm going to receive some offers in my cell phone about maybe a camera, maybe some of devices we just talked about. Marvin talk about bicycles, talk about Lamborghinis, and for sure. And I promise I'm going to send you the offers. It's going to appear here. See, if not today, tomorrow. Why? Because they are listening. What happens is that if you don't want to be listened, so you are going to be alone. That's a little more of what Marvin was saying. You can take advantage of the advance of the technology. You cannot live in the paranoid state of mind that everybody knows what I'm doing. I mean, every single people I know in the social networks shares all what really great their life is. And I thought, and what happened with the not good days? I mean, nobody publishes that it was a awful days. But the days still remain there. I mean, when you have a bad day, it's still a bad day, okay? So I think the privacy is an issue. Yes, it's an issue, but it's more an issue when you are not aware of the privacy you don't have. Let me, if I can explain myself. You are producing information every single second in your life. Information. You walk, you produce information for the health application of your cell. You purchase something, you produce information. What happens is that companies use that information to return to you to make you out an offer. Okay, and we have been manipulated because of that. Because maybe you are going to be offered with some device or some service or product that you don't really need, okay? But it's so particularly specific design for you that you, I don't know how to say this in English, but you fell in the trap of offering, okay? So you buy it because it's genius that they know that I wanted to have this, and you buy it. That's why you are not concerned. You are not aware of that you are being manipulating. You have been manipulating. When you are concerned, when you are awareness that your information is using for that purpose, so you can avoid some of the behavior that the general society wants you to have. And that's the way you can be healthy, be healthy about all the stimulation we have all around us in terms of television program, news program, sales seasons. I don't know if I'm being clear. I don't know, Marvin, if you can help me with this, completing the idea I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, Rigo. It's to think that, you're only manipulated if you think that you have certain privacy that you never really had, right? And that privacy, it's a fallacy to even think that you had that privacy. And now with the technology, it's just even faster than it used before. So as a society, we operated based on a common belief system on certain things. And now the digital transformation and technology is really kind of eradicating these false beliefs and really exposing what was already there, right? So the question now is, whether you're a business or an individual or an organization, really is just accepting that fact. And now how do you operate in this new environment that really is just going to be what we call the collective mind hive? It's what I call the collective brain trust, right? And it's pushing society to really act collaboratively at a very high level, sort of like bees or ants, collectively, in order to build a society that is equitable for everyone. Because that's going to hinge on our survival as a species on this planet, as opposed to the way we've been living up till now. That technology is only going to make that more apparent and more stringent. So I think Rigo is absolutely right on that. So it's an illusion that's sort of going away, so to speak.
Exactly. Thank you, Marvin.
Thank you so much. It was a really, really interesting panel. I've learned a lot. And I don't know if I have to be ecstatic or if I have to be scared.
Both.
I have mixed feelings about it. But I can conclude that we are going to have big efficiency in the way that we operate.
Yep.
I can understand also that businesses, they will have to reinvent themselves. They will have no choice. And I know for sure that there is no going back to normal.
There's no.
Thank you a lot for your time.
Okay.
Nayed, thank you so much for your time. You did an excellent job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naeem, and thank you to the team of Profin.
Yeah, thank you to the
very
team
well,
as well.
thank you.